Hello, Internet. I'm Jackie Fox, and I've got to admit, I've been feeling kind of intellectually constipated recently, and it always comes back to the same set of ideas and the same conversation that I feel like I should have with my audience. And that is a conversation about a demon that lurks just under the surface of modern culture, and that demon is ignorance. And I call it a demon because it's a thing that exists in the shadows, that is relevant to all of us. That's what I mean by exists in the shadows. We all have a shadow. Everything casts a shadow. Everyone is ignorant on some level. And it's also a thing that we are so terrified of, and so very willing to pretend doesn't exist, that basic fact that everyone is ignorant is not true. And there's a lot of kind of a toxic internet culture around this denial. In that, like, every take in some spaces has to be perfect. And it's not that we shouldn't be critical of takes. It is that I think that a bad take... I mean, there's obviously motivated logic with certain people. There's people who just are bad take factories because they have a bad viewpoint and they're unwilling to change. Sure, those people deserve to be ridiculed. But at the same time, there's a lot of normal people who may accidentally make a bad take from just a bit of ignorance. And I think that with the internet and with internet culture, we've come to a place where we've realized that theoretically, anyone could not be ignorant about a single subject if we all just researched it. I mean, like, among socialists, there's kind of a meme, like, you should just read Marx. And for me, and the purpose of this channel, I think, for me, is to be able to have a dialogue with normal people. I think a lot of the left, really deeply understanding, and a lot of the way that it is presented comes through the philosophers that stood up for certain viewpoints. And it is a thing that sometimes feels like it's most deeply understood by people who have a degree in philosophy. And I don't think that a philosophy degree needs to be required to join the actual socialist left. And therefore, I've always seen my content as a way of bridging that gap, because I haven't read Marx, and at this point I'm kind of intentionally not reading Marx, because I think that the socialist revolution needs to be something that could appeal even to someone who is illiterate. It needs to be simple. And I think that it's important to have someone try to interpret this with a more simple viewpoint. Because I think that will eventually cut to the things that are truly important for the masses. Because no amount of perfectly ethically and morally correct socialist philosophers or socialist philosophizers with philosophy degrees is really going to start the revolution. I mean, they may be good at informing the people who can understand what they're talking about, but that may not be the majority. And let's face it, we need the majority to come together, forming mutual aid networks and unions and ways to collaborate and present alternate power structures, competitive power structures to the capitalist forces that rule our lives. That's ultimately, where we need to go. And I don't think that you should have to have a philosophy degree to be able to understand that. And at the same time, I understand that this isn't the most nuanced socialist take. And that's not really my purpose. So one thing I'm going to try to do moving forward more often is when I am referencing an idea that I think that another person has done better and put more thought into, I will try to quickly summarize that, give you the cliff notes, give you the basic understanding and how that could affect you, but also to be able to urge you on to, if you are really interested, if you want to know the nuance, this is what I think is a good source, you should check this out. I'm going to try to intentionally do that more in the future. The thing is, ultimately, the reason that I think I've felt creatively constipated for the last while, in addition to having a lot of things come up in my life and breaking, the positive forward habit that I had created in making YouTube videos on a regular basis, it became really hard to come back because I would put a lot of effort into something. I would write a script out, edit it for days, record it, and then this wave of uncertainty would wash over me. Like, people have been waiting on this content for a long time. Is this even good? Is this what you should be doing? You have so many other ideas. Maybe you should do one of them. And then, second I start to work on one of those projects, it's like, well, you should finish this other one. And then once you try to do that, it's like, well, you should do this third idea. And because of the kind of slow pipeline of being able to get them out, because of trying to work very hard on quality content, it's taken a while. I just don't have a way to quickly get these ideas out. So I'm hoping that maybe making content like this, it's a little bit more stream of thought, or maybe I'll try a technique. Usually what I've been doing lately is I want the ideas that I express to be simple enough that I can just easily keep them in my head. So I've been trying to work without scripts, but instead by just kind of monologuing for a couple of hours, starting over whenever I have to, just pacing around in my living room, and taking from that what parts I can easily remember, what parts I think make the most sense in the order that I think makes the most sense, and then I try to replicate that for the camera. And make no mistake, I have told parts of the story over and over again in much longer ways. This is the one that felt right, ultimately. But this is what my channel is, this is what it intends to be, and I hope to give you a common sense way to get into leftist organizing through this channel. And I'm not always going to be perfect, and this is a revolution of the people. It should be, and you are the people. Thank you, my subscribers, my viewers. Your input is very much important on the topics that I cover, how it relates to you personally, or even like, say you're having a completely separate concern to what I'm talking about. You just need a place to vent about something that is happening to you. Do it in the comments. Let me know. Like, help me understand better the human condition by sharing with me what troubles you. What are your problems? Because I think this attitude of being open to listen, to actually engage with real workers and real, just common people, that's important. And if you, as a leftist, can't do that, I think you failed. So I want to open this for a lot more engagement. I want to make that clear, that I don't think that my ideas are necessarily superior or based on the most information. I just think they're good. They fit the way I see the world, and maybe they don't fit the way you see the world. Let's have a conversation about that. Instead of being afraid that I'm going to say something that's going to be dumb and have someone attack me for it, which is how the online communities can feel sometimes. And one reason that I just can't do social media anymore, which has been kind of isolating, honestly, because what watering hole does life really give you anymore other than work and social media? It's really kind of unfortunate the way our society is degraded in that way. But it just feels really toxic and scary. And I think that in declaring this in this video, in publishing this, I will be able to say this is the point where I stopped caring if I said something wrong, trying to do the right thing, because I know my intentions are good, and if someone attacks me for it, that's their prerogative. Whatever. But if you think I'm wrong, help me be right and help me share the right message as well. And hopefully do that through kindness, do that through engagement. Help me grow, help us grow a revolution together. And that topic is going to be what my next video is going to be on. It's not going to be perfect, but it's definitely going to have a list of sources where you can sit and listen to socialists who are far more well educated than I philosophize on this for hours, if that's what you're into. But if you just want the basic message of ways that you could form a socialist society, starting with yourself, starting with your own community, that's going to be the topic in the next video. So I hope you watch that one. Thanks for sticking around.